fashion?
Record the title of the show.
Well, let's just do the opening because here we are.
Yeah. Oh, what do you mean? Did I record? Oh, did I record the pre-show?
The name, the name of the show. You know.
But that was. See, when switching the name of the show to Time Out doesn't require having a fill-in voice because that is the name that we're going to fill into the placeholder. The joke was that it was a placeholder to insert the title. Now that we got the title, we don't need the voice to say Time Out.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Now, see, now what I need to do is I need to go back to all the past episodes and find all the places where it says
insert title here
and fill in Time Out with Gators and Brian and Venison is what I need to do. And I'm sure I will get right on top of that. But
yes.
Yeah, right on top of that. I am so on top of editing shows, clipping best materials, fixing things up, and editing. I don't know what I'm going to do with all my free time because I just don't have enough audio to edit. But in the meantime, it is that time again. It's once again time for another fun-filled edition of Time Out with Gators and Brian and Venison. As soon as Venison calls in, I'm Gators, and joining me, of course, is the one and only Brian Blues.
Here we are.
You know, I just want to point out to everyone that before he said "here we are," he did a salute, and I have to point this out because the camera doesn't switch to him until he says something.
Right.
So no one saw that but me.
Yes, well, maybe people think salutes are stupid.
They're preferable to knees, though.
Yes, apparently.
Apparently. But, no, I think we got a fun show planned for you this week. And you know what? We got to talk. We got to get right into it. We got to talk about my package issue. Because I got a package issue a-brewing here. And I don't know what's going on. It may be a case of the neighbors. It may be a case of someone in the neighborhood. Someone's either stupid or messing with me, and I'm not sure which it is.
What's going on?
Well, as people who tuned in last week recall, I mentioned last week that I picked up this wonderful Atari 2600 with various games, joysticks, and everything except for the power cable. At an antique store for $65, and so I ordered a power cable from Amazon, and it came in. I also ordered a 2-screw to coaxial adapter, and that came in. And I found that I had a very snowy, staticky picture, and I kind of figured out, well, you know, the RF box, you know, because what comes off an Atari is an RCA cable, and you plug that into the switch box, and it's got the 2 wires, and then I bought the and it's like that box with the RCA connection on there was very rough looking, and so I wasn't sure, is there a problem with the signal coming out of the Atari, or is there a problem with the switch box? And so I did a little research into how are people hooking up Atari 2600s these days, and apparently all you need to do is get a simple adapter that's an RCA female on one end and coaxial male on the other. It's basically just a straight connection. If you could just take the RCA cable and thread the sleeve and skinny the middle, you could just jam it right into a coaxial connection and it would work perfectly fine as long as it's got a TV tuner that receives in channel 2 or 3. So that's a very simple adapter. And so I ran down to my local Radio Shack. Oh, wait.
You're closed.
Small problem with that.
Right. Well, you put the curse on them.
No.
They don't deserve to exist.
That wasn't a curse. That was an observation. They put the curse on themselves.
You can't take credit for that, dude.
I can't take credit for Radio Shack's demise. Now, if Radio Shack if Radio Shack listened to me, got their shit together, I'd take credit for that. I don't need credit for their demise. I just pointed it out, which any idiot could have seen that coming.
But as Dune blamed me for the negativity over Bitcoin. You were putting out the negativity on Radio Shack, and they collapsed.
Well, the thing is that you were doing the whole, hey, it's gonna tank, which was based on pure speculation. Have you done any research into the markets, why Bitcoin is blowing up, what would cause it to decline, and put any serious thought or forecast into it? I mean, you just make it a generic comment, which is probably fair enough that, something that's this wild is going to certainly crash at some point. But that was just a comment based off of speculation. I was doing this off of not necessarily research, but experience.
Actually, there was an article about a Bitcoin flash crash.
Okay. So
that allegedly happened, but as I looked at all of the charts, it doesn't appear. So if there was a flash crash on Bitcoin, they ignored that data for the charts.
Or it was a minor dip in the grand scheme of things because it's been blowing up like crazy.
Right.
The thing is Bitcoin is a bit volatile.
Yeah.
But it's blowing up huge. But it's the type of thing that, the bottom could fall out at any moment.
Right.
And that's why Dune should take his $5,000 and run. But who am I? and then he could use $20 of it to buy a pair of romper stompers.
Well, of course, then you heard about this kid that's a millionaire now because of Bitcoin. But he invested, I think he invested a lot more money than Dune did.
How much did he invest?
I think the guy's in the UK. I don't know, but he's in the millions now. And I don't know if that's dollars or pounds, but he is just a kid,
If I had the choice of $1 million or £1 million, I'd take one of those.
Yeah.
That comment made absolutely no sense and means nothing. But the point is
either way, I'd take it. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. What's the difference? There is a difference, but but at that point,
well, £1 million is a lot more than $1 million.
Yeah, but I
even still, who cares, right?
I wouldn't sneeze at $1 million.
Exactly.
But
hey, they say that the first $1 million you make is the hardest.
Yeah. You know what? If someone just would give me the first $1 million, I'll give it back when I make the second $1 million.
Have you been talking to that Nigerian prince?
No.
Okay.
I've not. But we'll if anyone out there listening has $1 million that they could just kind of loan me until I make another $1 million. And since this would be a total charity case, right? So no interest. I ain't paying interest. I'm doing you. This is a science experiment.
Yes.
So you're doing this out of pure scientific interest. That's the interest, not monetary interest.
Why don't you set up a GoFundMe?
A GoFundMe. You know what? Remember the guy that did the potato salad GoFundMe? Isn't he like pretty well hated? Do I want to be that guy? And do I want to attract that kind of attention?
I understand what you're talking about. There are RV guys on YouTube that set up a GoFundMe or just post their PayPal account for people to send them money, and they, people call them e-moochers.
Well, my email address isn't hard to find, so if anyone does want to start PayPaling me money for nothing in return, that option always exists at any point in time for anyone.
I love those old ads that they would put in the classified section of the newspaper that would just say, "Send me $5," and people would. I mean, there's no promise or even saying what you're going to do with it.
You know what? This reminds me of a brilliant and genius scam that VForge used to talk about. I don't know, him and a friend or someone he knew, someone may have allegedly done something like this, that you basically advertise some kind of like adult material in some kind of a magazine or something like that, and you put a price like send $5 or send $20 to this address, and then you open up a business checking account, and you put the name on the account, the Dead Chicken Fuckers Society. And so then you get all the money from the people that want to buy this, sick porn off your magazine. You deposit it in the Dead Chicken Fucker Society checking account, and then you issue refund checks to everyone saying, "Oh, we're sorry. There's been a legal issue with the material. We can't actually send you the magazines. Here's your refund check." And then you wait and see how many people take their refund check drawn on the account, the Dead Chicken Fucker Society, and actually deposit or cash it. And usually most of the money stays right in the account. So I think you're silent now.
I think you're onto something big.
Well, no. This is I'm not on to anything. Someone else was on to something big back in the time when you couldn't just deposit a check by taking a picture of it and not having to actually set foot in a building.
Set foot in a building and
look someone in the eye
stupidly at the teller
and be like, "I have no idea what the Dead Chicken Fucker Society is, but $20 is $20."
That's right.
Now, Brian, if you fell victim to something like, if you wouldn't do this, but if by some chance you found yourself in a position that you were holding a check for $20 written out to your name, drawn on a account called the Dead Chicken Fucker Society, and your only option to get the $20 cash is to take this check to your local bank and hand it to the teller, would you do it, or would you be out the $20?
Well, I deposit checks using the phone, so that's what I would do.
Let's go back to the 80s.
Let's go back to the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
That'd be funny. But
have you heard the? I don't know. Sometimes there's a situation you just gotta actually be there. I would say, yeah, I would do it, but I don't know. Until it really happened. You hear about the guy that he found out the signatures for credit cards really mean nothing. There's nothing that verifies it. So this guy would go to Walmart and sign silly things.
I think I read
rather than his name.
Is this the guy that drew a picture of a dick on the signature pad?
Yeah, I forget whatever it was. He drew the picture, whatever, and then the clerk called over the manager
because they actually noticed that.
Oops.
See, that's the thing is that I've run a register. And, I take a glance at the credit card. I take a glance at the slip. I'm no handwriting expert, though. And I could tell you there was one time that I sold someone a TV, and I was not running the register. I just carry the TVs of the car. Right. And, I could have killed the security. The security guy knew what was happening, watched it happen, and didn't do anything until the guy peeled out of the parking lot. And he was drunk off his ass. And he was driving. And he took 2 TVs. And then we find out that he used a credit card that was in a woman's name.
Bummer.
All I did was, this drunk guy is in Walmart. He's looking at the TVs. And he was impossible. He had a certain set of criteria for the TV. He was looking for a certain size. He didn't like a certain brand. He wanted it to be in a certain color, and he wanted the screen to be a certain way. And he somehow laid out this criteria, because generally you look at a few TVs, and when they say, well, I don't like that, you start putting together a checklist of the things they're looking for, and you get an idea of which TV would best meet their needs. And you're like, well, this is the one. Can we get you a cart? But this guy was being difficult. He had criteria that, as I narrowed it down, nothing met his criteria. But he wouldn't leave. And he kept asking me questions and kept looking at different TVs. And so the security guy, who's, a guy wearing a jacket that, is basically undercover in the store, but we all knew who he is. His name was Mario. He came over to me, and he...
was he also a plumber?
He wasn't he should be a plumber. He's probably... Right. He's probably better trained to be a plumber than a security guy, because this is what Captain Mario pulled off here. Mario sees that this is suspicious. Mario sees that this guy is drunk. And Mario decides he does not want this guy in the store anymore. And so he kind of pulls me over and he goes, "Get this guy out of my store." And I'm like, "What do you mean? You get him out. Tell him to go away. Get him out. I do not want this guy. He is a drunk." And I kind of was like, "Dude, I have no authority to kick someone out of the store. Yeah, I've not been trained on kicking someone out of the store, asking someone to leave. Asking someone to leave has never been in my job description. Never been trained on this. Never been told to do this before. So I'm like, what do you want me to do? You're security. You kick this guy out of the store." And he's like, "I got nothing to do with that. I'm an undercover. What do you mean? You can get the guy out of the store." I'm, okay. So the only thing I could do in this position was sell the guy a TV. Because if I sold the guy a TV, then he'll leave. And then he's happy, the security guys are happy, and I'm happy. So I'm trying furiously to... And Mario's standing there just kind of staring this down, watching this happen. And so the guy figured out that something's up and that I'm trying to get him out of the store. And I think he senses that if he don't move, he's going to get kicked out of the store. So he decides that, you know what, I'm not sure. I'm going to try that one and that one. He points to two TVs, and it caught me by surprise because they were two TVs that up until that moment he definitely did not want. I'm like, but that one has that problem and that one, why do you want those? But I don't care. I'm not going to question it. In my head, I'm like, this makes no sense. What the heck is this guy up to? Because
apparently he compromised and he took those.
Yeah, right. It's like, but that was the least logical compromise. It was not at all what I was expecting him to compromise on, and also I wasn't expecting him to buy two TVs. The whole thing was weird, and if I wasn't so focused on getting this guy out of here because the security guy is breathing down my neck, I probably would have questioned this a bit more or called a manager over or something. But Captain Mario did nothing to help me out here. So I get a cart.
Yeah.
Mario's standing there laughing at me. Like, I look at him, he's got this like giggle going on. And I'm like, hey, I'm getting him out of here, okay? I throw the two TVs on the cart, bring him over the register, ring this guy out, boop, boop, we ring up the two TVs. He drives the car up to the entrance. The car is stuffed with, and I don't mean like it's stuffed with a bunch of brand new merchandise he's been buying from other stores he's scamming. It was stuffed with crap and garbage and things out of their boxes. I'm like, why did you come here with a car that's not been cleared out if you were going to buy two TVs? This guy did not come prepared to, normally someone that comes to a Walmart to buy a TV or two TVs, they put enough thought into having a space to put it before we get to the door and there's a TV. So it's like, this is just completely, it was so bizarre. And then it made all the sense in the world after he drove off. Mario's like, is he gone? Did he leave? No, he stole the TVs. I'm like, what do you mean? The credit card is stolen. Had a woman's name on it. I'm like, I didn't ring that one up. So not everyone was looking very hard at the credit cards is the point of that story.
So the credit card had a woman's name on it.
Yes.
So back when I worked for Radio Shack in the early 80s, this younger guy came in that had spiked hair, kind of blonde, came in and bought a couple of speakers. And boom, boom, signed the credit card transaction, and he was out of there. And everything looked normal. Several days later, this guy came in and described the transaction and what the guy looked like. Go, yeah, I took that. I mean, sorry, I mean, what can I do? Everything looked legit. And he explained that he was in the shower and this guy broke into the guy's house. And, he looked out and he see that he stole the guy's wallet and was going out the door. He would have chased him down to get his wallet back, but he was naked.
Yeah, that would have made for a good story, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of is a decent story.
If you stole someone's wallet and was walking out of the house and an irate naked guy dripping wet came running after you, I think you'd drop the wallet.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
he dropped the wallet. If he had some clothes on, you run for it. But if he's naked, you're probably going to drop the wallet. I don't know why. This theory makes no sense, and but to me, it just seems like that was giving him an edge on intimidating the person into dropping the wallet.
Well, okay. So here's this other story.
I mean,
So
if you're willing to bolt out of the house naked, there's no telling what you're going to do
Exactly.
if this guy gets
Exactly.
his hands on you.
So this other guy, he was a manager of another store, that I had met. He was in the back room counting up the cash drawer at the end of the day, and his assistant was at the counter. And this guy came up. He showed a gun to the clerk, and the clerk just got out the money and put it in bags, and hey, out of here.
That's
right.
generally
And
what you do when a
apparently,
gun's involved.
Apparently, he fired into the ceiling, fired the gun into the ceiling. Okay. And as he leaves, the manager saw this and chased him down. And so they're both running down the street. And then the guy with the gun stopped and just says, "You must be fucking crazy," dropped the money, and he left. So the manager picks up the money. I'm all happy, whatever. He walks in the store, and the clerk is just looking at the ceiling and seeing the dust coming down.
Right.
He thought it was a fake gun. But he got the money back.
Dumb kids with their fake guns. What the? Oh.
Shit.
But that goes to raise a point. Most criminals that are holding a gun to rob a place probably don't want to commit a murder. And you got to figure there's probably a higher percentage of them that are not going to shoot you than are going to shoot you.
Right.
Obviously, it's still stupid to chase him.
Unless, of course, he's crazier than the store manager, right?
There is that. And plus, you never know. A lot of times murder is based on heat of the moment and rage. And, probably, so you really don't know what you're dealing with. There's
this other story about a robbery that was going on, and the clerk was about 20 feet away from the guy with the gun, and he goes into a karate stance. Well, and then he took a bullet in the belly.
Ooh.
It's like, let's see. Don't go into a karate stance in a gunfight.
Yeah, if you're too intimidating and the person now thinks they need to defend themselves, that will get a bullet.
Right.
Right. Karate stance is basically like, oh shit, I've messed with the wrong person. It's me or him, and now I'm going to shoot him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's but crazy guy running after you, you might, well, it's all, what are you going to trigger? Fight or flight?
Right, exactly. Right.
But anyways, so I ordered the adapter. Going back to the original point of the story is the
original story.
The coaxial to RCA adapter off of Amazon. And it was, I ordered it on Thursday. So with Amazon Prime, it would get here on Saturday. So I'm watching the tracking information on Saturday because, I want to test out my 2600 and see that it's all working because I know it turns on, but I also know I got a staticky picture. Is it a bad adapter or is it a bad signal coming off the 2600? I want to know. And it shows that it's been delivered. Okay. So I walk outside. No package, no padded envelope, no nothing. I, look on the steps, look on the porch, look on the door, look on the mailbox, look in the mailbox, even though it's not going to be in the mailbox because it was being delivered by an Amazon van and only the United States Post Office is allowed to place things in a mailbox. But no, cannot find this thing. So I go back upstairs. Did I read the tracking information wrong? Is it still out for delivery and I somehow misread something? No, it says delivered. Not only that, the delivery guy took a picture of the envelope while he was on my front steps with it, and that's in the tracking information, the picture of the envelope, and I could see that, those are my steps that are in the background there. He totally was here with that envelope. So I'm like, well, the envelope was here. Let's go outside and look again. So I go outside. I'm looking again on the box. I check the neighbor's door, see if maybe it was placed in between the neighbor's door and thing. I walk around the side of the house. Did it get blown away somewhere? I'm looking out in the street, looking down the street. It's gone. It's gone. It's not here. Someone saw a padded envelope and went, "Ooh, I
gotta
wonder."
have this. Yeah.
I absolutely. So I guess someone else in this block bought a 2600 this week, and someone saw an envelope and thought maybe something good. So I call up Amazon, and I'm like, yeah, I got a problem. My package has a status of delivered. You got a picture of it here. It ain't here. So what are we gonna do about that? And so they said, well, we can give you a refund or we can send you a replacement. And I'm like, well, I still need the thing, so why don't you send me out a replacement? Okay, we'll send you a replacement. It'll get here Monday. Okay, so I'm pissed. I'm pissed about this. What the hell's going on with this neighborhood? In the meantime, I actually figured out it's not that hard to make your own RCA to coaxial adapter. I took one of my RCA couplers that have two females on either end so that you can join two cables together. And I took a coaxial cable and chopped the end off of it and stripped it down and poked the wire through the middle, took the frayed wires around the edge of the sleeve, electrical taped it in place, and that works perfectly. I didn't even need the replacement. But, so I tested out. Everything was working good. This morning, I wake up at, 5 in the morning as usual. Put on some pants, make myself some lunch, get myself ready for work, open up the door. What's there on the steps leading up to my floor? Padded envelope with my name on it with the corner opened. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if the neighbors picked it up and waited a day before figuring out, well, this isn't my package, and apparently I don't
use it. Yeah.
And apparently I don't know how to read before picking up, or if someone picked it up off the street and just threw it into the house when they were like, well, I don't need this, I might as well let them have it. I don't know. All I know is it appeared on my steps. No one knocked on my door. No one tried to explain this to me. It just showed up. So I'm like, okay, well, looks like I'm going to have two of these now. So I come home from work today. No package, no pad envelope. I'm like, gee, delivery's late. I pull up the tracking information. It was delivered. It was delivered, and a second one disappeared. Someone keeps taking... Now, the question is, where is that one, and is that one going to show up? And part of me is like, do I call Amazon about this? Because do I want Amazon to keep sending me more envelopes and have them disappear? I don't need a replacement anymore because the original one showed up. But meanwhile, the second one still disappeared, and I feel like something needs to be done about that. But is that Amazon's problem at this point? Because I have the thing I paid for. So I don't really feel that I need Amazon to send something. So what are they going to do about a missing envelope when I don't need a replacement or a refund? What am I asking them for if I call them?
Or when it shows up, do you return it?
It's probably not worth it to anyone to return. If I called up Amazon, they'd probably say, thank you very much, sir. You go on and you keep that, because it's probably not worth the $5.
Let me tell you my Amazon story that's still ongoing.
Oh, boy.
So we got an iPad mini. Okay.
And
we needed a case for it. So went through Amazon, blah, 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 blah. You do a search for iPad mini case, and you got a gazillion of them, and you pick just the right one and decide, okay, I'm going to buy it, right?
Right.
It arrives and realize, oh, shit, this isn't for an iPad mini. This is for the regular iPad. It's huge.
Wrong item.
So I go in to set it for return and then buy a proper mini. And, of course, now this goes for, I'm just going to pull up a number, Amazon Prime, $16. When I do a return, this says, okay, we're going to charge you the shipping for it. So you're actually going to get $8 back. Hardly seems worthwhile.
No, that's, yeah.
But anyway, so I go through that and I print out the labels, but I don't do anything with that yet. Anyway, so I order the replacement one. That should have been here on Friday.
Right.
it doesn't show up. You go into the tracking thing. It looks like, oh, there was a problem with shipping. It probably went the wrong way. Okay, now it's supposed to be delivered today. And then, boom, it's marked as refused.
Refused.
I haven't refused anything.
Oh God, I love that word.
So then I ordered another one. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, that reminds me. I had a situation.
Maybe it was delivered to the wrong house, and the wrong house refused it, but the shipping guy didn't want to get in trouble, so he just marked it as refused. I don't know. Okay, let's go back to the iPad case.
Okay.
Now, I've been using an iPad for a long time, and I got the Logitech keyboard on it.
Right.
But that doesn't really offer any, and that's just clamshell shut, but there's no real protection. So I says, what the hell? Rather than returning this one, because I hadn't shipped it back yet, I'll just see if it fits this one. And, oh, it does. In fact, it's nice. I like this better than the keyboard cover. So I'm going to use it, and I canceled that return. So why just get $8? I'll just keep the damn thing.
Yeah, exactly. They're only giving you half back, anyways.
Right. So anyway, we'll see what happens with them in any case. See if that.
Yeah, shipping is such a nightmare. I mean, I remember. It's funny you're talking about a package being refused. That reminds me of I had a situation when I was living in Oakland where and I don't know what this was because I never had this problem before. And then after this happened, I never had the problem again. But there was like a few weeks where it was like my packages were going to a black hole. I don't know where they were ending up because I ordered I ordered a pair of what was it? A noise isolator. A wire that has that big hunking bulge in the middle of it, like a D-cell battery size, that basically has wound wires to get rid of hums, which is really odd that I'm talking about this right when I'm having a hum problem with my cable on the mic that everyone's probably hearing, and I don't know what's up with that, but if I don't breathe too heavily, it might not come back. Anyways, so I ordered a pair of them, and they get marked as delivered, and I don't have them. And so I go back to the seller. I'm like, hey, I should have warned you. I've been having problems with the UPS lately. Could you send those FedEx instead? And, I don't have them. I need a replacement. Oh, yeah, we're very sorry about that. We'll get a replacement set out. And so they said, but then they're like, oh, we're sorry. We accidentally forgot to send them FedEx. They're going out UPS again. Once again, marked delivered, no cables. So then I'm like, okay, what the... At some point, I'm working with FedEx, and I'm at the point where I'm calling up FedEx, and I'm like, I do not want this package delivered until the guy speaks to me. The guy's not to leave this package somewhere. The guy's not to speak to anyone else. He talks to me. He hands me the package. You do not deliver this package unless the guy talks to me. So next thing I know...
Signature required, right?
Well, it wasn't signature required. This was me... Yeah. I've had enough packages with problems with packages that I've had to call these places. This is why I'm so familiar with hold music at different places. Right. Keep in mind, I once waited 2 hours in the lobby of the UPS center to get the manager to come out and talk to me about my $1,000 phono cartridge that they lost. It was like, I am not leaving here until whoever's in charge talks to me. 2 hours later, he'll be out in 5 minutes. That's how long it takes. Mind you, I was live tweeting my event out there in the lobby, taking various pictures of the posters and things out there for all my Twitter followers, to all 2 of them that I had back then. Which hello to all my British new Twitter followers. Thank you for pushing me back over 1,000 again lately. I've been loving that. Anyways. So it got to the point where I had to get on the phone with someone. So they didn't deliver it. It gets marked as delivery attempt failed. And I call him up. I'm like, what the hell's going on? He's like, well, there was an empty building. There's no one there. So I don't know where they were trying to deliver this to, but for some reason, it's like for this 1 week, everyone suddenly was going to the wrong thing, and there was no business buildings on my block. Now, the only thing I can think of is my address was on a street called Laurel Avenue, and Laurel Avenue is one of those streets that I-580 falls smack dab in the middle of, and it's one of those streets that does not go under 580. It's a dead end, but it continues on the other side of I-580. So I can't help but wonder if there's some building on the other side of 580 on that Laurel Avenue that people kept on delivering my wires to, and if somewhere someone was scratching their head going, why do these ground loop isolators keep showing up on my doorstep? That's my
Or
theory.
if it's an empty building, maybe there's a whole stack of shit that's piled up.
It could be. No, well, that stopped. Well, then I started having all my packages delivered to work, and that solved that problem. But the other bizarre thing is how I had it resolved was I called them back, and I'm like, where the hell are you taking them? And what do I got to do to get my package? And this guy goes, hey, you know what? I'm getting off work in about 15 minutes. I'm heading in that direction. Where is that you live? Hey, tell you what, I'll bring it to you. So this guy that works for FedEx actually drove up his car, knocked on my door, handed me the wires. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And you'd think that would be the end of it, right?
You would think.
You would think. Well, here's the problem with that. The guy who's driving home from work and just drops it off with his car, he doesn't have that boop device that you use to scan to mark it delivered. So about a month later, I get a phone call from a confused office worker who she's like, did you receive that package with the tracking number? I'm like, oh, that package. Let me tell you about that. Yes, I did get it eventually. All right. Well, how come it's not? Well, the guy brought it to me on his way home from work because the delivery guy couldn't find me. And she, oh, that makes sense. Hey, could you send us an email explaining the story so we can document this in our system? Yeah, I'll get right on that. Click. I did not. I did not.
So there's some clerk staring at this thing. What are we going to do with this? We're expecting this email from this guy.
You know how much work they made me do to get the and then they want me to document that. Why are you asking me to do your job?
Right.
Why am I don't work for FedEx. I'm not drawing a paycheck from this company.
Yes,
Why?
how much are you going to pay me to help complete your paperwork?
Get off my phone. So that's my latest problem. But now this is Amazon's own delivery vans that are leaving. And here's the thing: when I asked for the replacement,
Hey, it's venison.
hey, it is venison. So when I asked them to send the replacement adapter, I told them, don't leave it outside because I don't know what happened in the first one. Ring the bell. I had this wonderful doorbell that I put up. Big white button that says 1B on it. Just could you ask the guy to push the button? Okay, we'll put a note on there. Guy did not push the button. So I don't know where the replacement is, but it's not here.
And plays fucked up electronic music.
What's that?
Yeah, your doorbell plays Milton Babbitt.
Oh, I wish I could program my doorbell to do boo. That'd be great.
People would be running.
Yeah, it's about that. Okay.
About what?
Let's go back a bit here.
Go.
That part where you said about, the guy having his wallet stolen while he was in the shower. Sorry,
Yeah.
still trying to eat these steak and eggs.
Yeah, he should have ran after him naked, I say.
Yes, because that would have made him drop the wallet. If you ran after him naked and said something like, oh, damn, what was the words I used? Shit.
If I catch you, I'm going to have my way with you? Is that the words you're looking for?
Something along the lines
Something
of
along
that.
those lines?
Oh, that's right. You ran after him naked and said, I'm horny, bitch, and now I got an excuse.
Oh, man. You've put a lot of thought into this, haven't you?
So
Anyways,
there's this other story about...
Not much. No,
About,
wait. There's one more. Just clear
go ahead.
up, and then we're out. Okay, and oh damn it! I hate this fucking stroke condition. I'm trying.
Okay, come on. It'll come to you. Let's just, really concentrate really hard. You had a story. You had it in your head all ready to tell. And now the time has come, and we got drums and everything ready for you.
It's gone.
Actually, you need the Final Jeopardy music.
This Final Jeopardy music. Oh man, I don't.
Okay, so I'll tell my story. Okay?
All right, we'll hear
So
Brian's
apparently
story.
there was an earthquake someplace in the middle of the night, and of course, one of the things you ought to do is run out of the house. Okay. So this guy runs out of the house and he sees his neighbor is naked, and he says, "Hey, dude, you ran out of your house naked." And the guy looks back and says, "So did you."
Oh, that is, yeah. I thought you're supposed to go under a table or stand in a door frame or go under the bed or something like that, right?
Yeah, but that wouldn't work with this story.
Yeah, if you get out of the house, get out of the house.
Well, I guess we just want to offer the disclaimer. No, I think you're not supposed to get out of the house during an earthquake. I thought you're supposed to stay in your house and get under something.
And have everything fall top for you.
Yes.
Right.
I wouldn't use this as a recommendation.
Right, because I understand the thought process of if the building collapses and I'm in it, I'm toast, so let me get out of the house. But I think they say, no, you're better off staying in the house.
Yeah.
Get under.
Tell that to people that got buried and weren't found, until a week later. Dead.
Well, it depends on the construction of the house as well.
You know what,
if
Venison?
it's a stone house, I'd get the hell out of there.
If they were found a week later dead, I don't think the time frame is an issue anymore. There's not a huge difference between being found a week later dead or being found a year later dead.
Well, you can be found a week later dead if you were able to survive or drinking your own urine.
Well, then you wouldn't be found a week later dead if you were able to survive.
But apparently, they weren't able to do that, which is why they were found dead.
Bad aim, I guess.
I just said, ew. And that was it.
No, Dune is saying that out is safer. You know what? We better inform our listeners properly. Earthquake, in or out? Let's Google this and see what Google says. Because Google should offer us. I mean, if we've learned anything, it's that the internet doesn't lie to us.
Absolutely.
All right. During an earthquake, if you're indoors, stay there. Get under and hold on to a desk or table or stand against an interior wall. Stay clear of exterior walls, glass, heavy furniture, fireplaces, and appliances. The kitchen is a particularly dangerous spot. If you're in an office building, stay away from windows and outside walls and do not use the elevator. If you're outside, get into the open, stay clear of buildings, power lines, or anything else that could fall on you. If you're driving, move the car out of traffic and stop. Avoid parking under or on bridges or overpasses. Try to get clear of trees, light post signs, and power lines. When you resume driving, watch out for road hazards. If you're in a mountainous area, beware of the potential for landslides. Likewise, if you're near the ocean, be aware that tsunamis are associated with large earthquakes. Get to high ground. If you're in a crowded public place, looting is often a popular pastime. No, that's not what it says. Avoid panicking and do not rush for the exit. Stay low and cover your head and neck with your hands and arms. All right, so internet says indoors.
Now then, this dispute because of one thing they said. All right, they say stay indoors. Okay, which is their popular team. But they say if you're outside, get away from buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're getting away from buildings. Maybe you want to go outside and get away from the building.
Well, I guess the thought, a building could collapse or things could fall off of buildings.
Or the glass shatters and
glass
sprays off.
shattering, right? Because when they say you're in a building, they don't want you to be near the exterior wall. So if you're outside, the only place you could be near a building is an exterior wall where there's glass shattering and windows and stuff like that. So either get to the middle of the building or get away from the building. You don't want to be at the edge of the building.
Well, there's also a debate whether you should go into a doorway or not.
I didn't realize
One
it was a debate.
argument toward a doorway is that most doorways, like if it's a wooden structure, instead of having a single 2x4 in the frame, like the regular wall, you'll have, it'll be doubled up. So there'll be two 2x4s on each side of the door and a heavy header above it that's strengthened. So that'll be the strongest part of the building if it's a wood construction.
Right.
So I would head for the doorway if you're in a wooden structured house.
Okay.
Right. But if you're in a building that's stone, particularly an older one, then I'd get the hell out of there.
Okay.
Regardless of what people would want, because a lot of these old stone structures will just collapse. Like in Mexico,
Right.
you had a lot of buildings, older the buildings, that just collapsed.
Yeah. Anyways, moving along.
Moving along,
because I think we prepared for more earthquake information. Check out the internet and believe anything and everything you read. Oh,
I remember.
You remember? Oh, wow! It came to you.
Yes, it did. Okay, you also said something about about the guy who did karate moves 20 feet away from somebody holding a gun.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently, that guy don't watch movies. Okay.
Like I don't think either.
Yeah, because in the movie, the Captain Hero came across this guy, doing all these karate moves with swords. It's like, yeah. And he says, you gotta be kidding. Takes out a gun and shoots him dead.
One of the best improv scenes in movie history ever.
And name that movie?
Well, of course, in the Indiana Jones movie, the guy's doing all his moves, and
that's exactly what Venison was referencing.
Okay, Indiana Jones, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, meanwhile, so I got my adapter, and I got my power cord, and I got the 2600 all cleaned up and looking nice. And as you can see here, I got an old school 80s TV up on my YouTube screen if you're watching the YouTubes. If you're not, take my word for it. Beautiful looking old. Well, actually, I've just got a capture card going into my computer, and I got a border around on my picture-in-picture thing going on here. Of course, nowadays, if you want to use a vintage system like an Atari 2600 before the days of AV outputs, you got to use something that's got a TV tuner in it. Easiest, handiest way to do that is to get yourself a VCR that has an AV output. And that way you can set your VCR to channel 3, hook up your 2600 into the input there with your adapter, and then take the AV output into your modern TV or capture card in this case. And as you can see, the nice blue screen of a VCR. And when I power on the 2600, oh my God, it works. It still works.
Yay.
Good purchase. And Venison, he was all like, you didn't even know it works. Yeah, I do. I knew it worked. I had faith. I'm just not very good at it though, because I keep falling down.
Just jump down the tubes.
Yeah, I just fell down. Here we go. Oh, I didn't jump over the log. Good. I don't like this joystick. Atari joysticks suck. Oh, I keep getting hit by the logs. There we go. Now I got to catch the rope. So yeah, it worked. Gotta love those sounds. Come on, get off the rope. There we go. All right, allowed to get eaten by crocodiles. So there you go. It works. How about that?
Right.
Now I found something really cool.
So Pitfall is one of your pitfalls.
Yeah, I'm not. See, I was born in '79, so I was alive in the age of Atari, but I was also in diapers. Yeah, when I came of age to be playing video games, I could play Mario like it's Mario. I don't know. But these games I need to practice on. I did find something really cool that came with this because I was going through the carts that came with this 2600, and there's this one game in there that's called Omega Race. And I noticed that there were extra controllers in here with the 2600 that I wasn't sure what they do. And so I put on Omega Race, and I'm finding that I can't seem to do much in this game. And so I researched it. Omega Race came with this special controller. Now, this controller is a handle with 2 buttons on it. Atari joysticks only had 1 button on it. Just a, directional up, down, left, right stick and 1 button. But you know what? It was possible to do 2 buttons with a 2600. And so what this adapter does is it's got 2 buttons on this handle, and the handle is open on the bottom. It slides onto the joystick.
Cool.
It's just like making sweet love to the joystick. And,
oh God!
Well, because you got to slide it in, and you can. Yeah.
Does it require a lube?
No, it's rather loose actually. This stick has been around the block. It's quite a.
So it's not a tight pussy.
No, it's not a tight fit at all. But the adapter on the end here, as you can see, has an input and connector. So you take your joystick and you plug it into here, and then it goes through there, and so that way you basically have added on an extra button to your joystick. Not to mention you now have both buttons at your fingertips holding the stick, because one of these buttons actually takes the place of this button. You can still use this, but one of them takes the place of that. And so I thought that was really kind of cool that people found a way to, well, I want to program a game that uses 2 buttons, but the system only has 1 button. Well, we can actually make a 2-button joystick.
That second button actually is that the button from the same electronics as the button from the second joystick?
What do you mean?
Okay, so a joystick has got 1 button and 1 stick, right?
Right.
Well, the second one adds a second button and a second joystick.
Well, it slides onto the stick.
Oh, I know. We're talking about regular Atari.
Okay.
If you plugged in both joysticks, would the button on the second joystick work?
Oh, that is a good question. I've not tried that any. So maybe that's where it's borrowing its resources from. Well, it's not using the second connector because they're both going through the first connector. But let me hook up the second joystick and let me start a game here, because basically you move side to side to steer, and this button thrusts me, and my trigger button shoots. So let me see if the button on the second player joystick does anything. No, it doesn't. It doesn't do anything. Actually, but this button thrusts me. So yeah, no, it doesn't affect the second joystick port at all.
Okay.
It's not borrowing that resource.
So that's an independent port.
Right. The port can handle 2-button joysticks. Right, they just didn't design 2-button joysticks. Which you can't help but wonder, well, how come they cheaped out on that? That seems like a easy thing to do. And this game's a little difficult to control because you got to, thrust with your button, steer with your side to side on your joystick, and try to shoot at the same time. And notice I'm kind of spinning all around the place. I can't quite get a good aim here. These games are not easy. I realize I haven't turned on the sounds.
Shit.
There we go. Yeah, all right, I shot him. And now I'm moving fast. And I blew up. Now,
okay,
Brian,
so I looked up. Yeah, I thought this was a DB9 connector. So pin 1 is joystick up, Then 2 is down. 3 is left. 4 is right.
Okay.
5 is B input paddle touch tablet. 6 is input trigger. 7 is plus 5 volts. 8 is ground. And 9 is A input paddle / touch. So there is an A and a B.
Okay. They just built most
but
joysticks
also-
with one button.
Input trigger, is that the thing at the top of
I
the
don't-
joystick? Is there a button on the top of the joystick?
Not on the Atari joystick. That's why I had to put this one on here. No. The standard Atari joystick is a one-button affair. You have to
So
have
I
the
wonder what
add-on.
this input trigger is.
Well, that's what this add-on's probably using. Now, the other thing is...
Oh, so it's not using the B.
I don't know. I don't know, actually, to be honest. One thing, though, is that I find odd is that the paddles, the controllers for, like, Breakout, it's 2 paddles, but they both use one connector. Now, I don't know if that's switching back and forth or what. I'm not a programmer. So yeah, that works. Now, of course, some years ago, I picked up an Atari 2600 game just to have, because it was so infamous, and I decided I must have one to display on my shelf. And so I found this video game store. They had a copy of E.T. for Atari for $3. And I never knew if it worked or not because I didn't have an Atari 2600. So now I could actually test it out and see, does my copy of E.T. that I bought purely for display purposes, is it actually a working copy? And the answer is yes. It absolutely is. And yes, it does suck.
Somewhere out in New Mexico, there is a landfill
That has been dug up.
filled with tons.
Not anymore.
Of, ET cartridges.
Not anymore. They dug them up.
They dug them up
Yeah.
and did what with them?
Sold them.
$3 a pop.
Yeah. I got one of them.
And they found an idiot to buy one.
Actually, the thing is that apparently digging them up in the landfill made the price of them go down. Now, I thought most of them were crushed, but apparently there were some non-crushed ones. Because when I bought it, the guy was like, "Yeah, you're lucky the $3 down. They were a lot more than that before they dug up the landfill." I was like, well, "They're selling them? Where do you get one of those?"
Well,
So I don't know.
because when they went into the landfill, they go, "Wow, there's only a limited number that are left."
Yeah.
But when they dug up the landfill, then you increased the quantity out there, and therefore the
but I
price
think-
decreased.
But I think most of the landfill ones are crushed. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't follow the story that closely. So yeah, there we
Maybe
go.
you should try to find a landfill version.
They dug them up.
I don't care that much.
Why would they do that?
Or see if any are showing up on eBay.
Well, actually, they did that because it was kind of they did a documentary about it. It was a topic that interested people, and it was profitable because people bought them after they dug them up. They made a movie about it. People probably paid to see that or to download copies of it. I'm not sure. There was someone donated money to do this. It was kind of like almost like an archaeological excavation, except excavating something from modern history. I remember.
So Al Capone's riches were right next to it.
Yeah. Apparently, I don't know. That they're digging that up next.
No. What's his name? Already searched for those riches, and failed to find them.
Oh, wait, are we talking about the vault that
Yeah.
Geraldo Rivera opened up?
Rivera,
And it was
couldn't think of the
empty?
name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah. So totally worth $65, and the added aggravation of trying to figure out what's going on with my adapters.
Hang
So
on
we'll-
a sec. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, while Brian goes and does that, we should revisit the topic of hold music. Because now, Venison, remember we had this whole debate over who's got the better hold music, UPS or FedEx.
Well, I don't know the debate, but okay.
I said UPS's was better because it had a more driving beat, and it didn't interrupt with announcements periodically. It's just a nice driving beat.
Was I there, and what did I say?
You said that FedEx had the better hold music.
Uh-huh.
But I think this is my favorite hold music. Even though I hate UPS, but I've spent much time listening to this loop. And so I found out that there's a podcast out there called Reply All. And they are a very interesting podcast. I highly recommend checking out some of their episodes. That's on gimletmedia.com. It's called Reply All. And it's worth checking out. And one of their episodes, they got put on hold, and they found what they've described as the greatest hold music ever. And it's not bad, but I don't...
Wait, let's hear the FedEx one real quick. Just to,
I don't have the FedEx.
Balance it out.
I don't have the FedEx one. But this is the one
What?
Well, he only played it for us for a few moments. But this is what Reply All says is the best hold music. It's not bad. I like this. I'll probably download a copy of this.
Yeah.
What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah, but is it better than UPS's?
Yes.
I prefer UPS's. I like that beat.
Yeah, the UPS is definitely more upbeat.
Yeah.
But if you're on hold for a long time, does it just piss you off?
Anything's gonna eventually piss you off.
True.
But I mean, they're both nice grooves. But there's something about the UPS one that just. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll download this one. Anyways, now I've started tweeting to Reply All to see if I can get them to figure out who does UPS's hold music. So keep an eye on that.
Now, musicians make money. We've talked about how musicians make money, and typically when they resell an album, they get nothing.
Yeah, typically
In fact,
musicians make money
from albums nowadays. So they do concerts, they make money there. But also for video games, they make money.
And also from second jobs.
True. Very true. Right. Or teaching music. They can make some money.
Teaching music, yes. I think Al Cooper does some of that. Actually, it was fun. Back in the day of the original PlayStation, they used to send out like a PlayStation magazine, which was but it wasn't a paper magazine. It was a digital magazine. Like they actually sent you a disc that would play in the PlayStation, and you navigate a menu, and basically have a video articles that you can watch. And one of them was one of the members of the police started getting into making video game music for a job. And he kind of did a little article about how, they'd send him a game. He had the demo of the game and he'd play it to try to get a feel for it. And then he'd kind of sit at his keyboard and kind of make up a little groove. And he kind of showed how he did that. And I wish I still had that. But I remember I was telling someone in my class in college about that. And he's like, oh, that's what I want to get into, making video game music. Could you lend me that? And so I borrowed that magazine from my brother, loaned it to him and said, hey, yeah, just get it back to me whenever. Never saw it again. And I don't know, something like that probably sells for like $100 on eBay these days. I don't.
I would bug him for it and get it back.
I haven't spoken to that guy. That guy, I was never on very good terms with that guy. That guy kind of we kind of rubbed each other the wrong way. I mean, I liked him well enough to loan him something if he was genuinely interested, but generally we kind of pissed each other off, and I don't even remember his name anymore.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh, I'd have to think about that. Yeah, no, it's gone. Totally gone. Gothard might remember his name, though.
Worth tracking him down.
I don't. I doubt he knows where that thing is. It probably got tossed out years ago.
You never know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'd put money on it. Anyways, oh man, before the show, there's so many things we were talking about. It's like we got to. Oh, you know what? Yeah, you sent me a link. Speaking of the Atari 2600, Brian, you saw a device that looks kind of interesting in the store that you took a picture of, and you tweeted that at me.
Yeah.
And let me find that tweet right now. If I haven't retweeted already, I'll retweet it now. So yeah, I did retweet it, and it is the Atari Flashback 8. And according to the box, it has 105 Atari games in it. It looks like a miniature 2600. It's got an official Atari logo on it. It's got 2 authentic-looking Atari joysticks. It looks like it's got the same port as the original Atari joysticks used. But it's got these bright red and orange buttons on it that kind of look a little cheap and cheesy and does not kind of... I prefer it if it had like the original switches to power it on. That kind of sucks that they got these weird-looking push buttons. I got to look into this and see if this is a worthwhile... It's odd. I can't put my finger on why it is, but other devices like mini Sega Genesis and the mini Atari does not excite me on the same level that the SNES and the NES minis excite me. And I'm not sure what it is about those. I mean, one thing is it's cool that Nintendo's putting out an official mini version of their systems, and it's cool that they're hackable to add more ROMs. But this device is apparently put out by Atari, but Atari is probably just a group of different people that own the name now, whereas Nintendo is the same company. Sure, the people have come and gone, but they've stayed relevant in the gaming industry. So it's like, is Atari even Atari anymore?
No, probably not.
Right. That's.
Well, we were talking before the show. We were talking about, you can look it up on Wikipedia, and it'll give you a lengthy history. There's so much information there you'll fall asleep. Talk about these people that you kind of don't remember.
Well,
the original founders and stuff.
I'm looking for reviews on this, and someone wrote an article that said, I tested 2 retro consoles, one good, one hot garbage. And I'm wondering what the difference is between garbage and hot garbage. Does the temperature of garbage change the quality of it?
And is that good or bad?
Hot garbage.
Maybe it's radioactive.
That could be. And I thought like maybe he reviewed an NES Mini and the Atari is the garbage. And no, he reviewed a mini Sega Genesis and the mini Atari. So let's hit the highlights on this.
Maybe somebody threw out a whole bunch of real dolls.
Let's see.
But those aren't called mini, are they? Those are called...
Well, they are mini. Well, the NES Mini and the SNES Mini aren't called that either. They're called the NES Classic and the SNES Classic.
Okay,
people are just calling them mini because they're miniature.
Right, it's just smaller than the original size. Gotcha.
All right, so he's kind of talking about these systems, Sega Genesis and the Atari. And these systems might ape the designs of their predecessors, the Nethos and Nintendo. They're still, at their core, cheap emulators crammed in cheaper plastic. That's totally fine when it comes to the $60 Atari Flashback 8 Gold, but the $80 Sega Genesis Flashback has such a crucial flaw that you won't want to invite it into your living room. Oh, so apparently this guy liked the Atari.
Oh, and that's the one I took a picture of.
Sega and Atari seem to have no quality control clause in these licenses they sell. See, that's the difference. Sega and Atari are licensing for a third-party company to make these devices. So it's not Atari, the company's making a mini. That's what it is. Nintendo making a device is more exciting than Atari and Sega licensing out their names to someone else.
But when was the last time Apple actually made a phone?
Well, the company's contracting people to do it, and Nintendo's contracting companies to do it. But I'm not getting into the nitty-gritty factory business practices. I'm just talking about
Okay.
This is more a mental thing. This is more a psychological thing
Sure.
than anything. But also,
hey man, I'll go mental with you.
but also there is something else to it because Nintendo does have quality control over who they're contracting this out to. Much like Apple's phones, there's a standard that they're putting in place. Whereas Atari and Sega, I think they're just like, hey, you got a device you want to slap our likeness onto? Sure, give us a cut. And so this is kind of like cheap, chintzy plastic stuff that's not the same quality as the NES Classic, from what I'm seeing. All right, the Sega Genesis Flashback is really, really bad. It plays 85 games hailing from the Genesis and Master Systems, including Shining Force, Sonic the Hedgehog, Mortal Kombat, and it has a slot to play actual Genesis and Master cartridges. Should you have any on hand. Now, that's kind of cool that the thing actually plays games and has built-in games. Let's see. There are some major upgrades, HDMI port, and such and such. The Atari games finally fixed an audio problem endemic to its Sega system. Sega games are kind of notorious in emulation circles for getting their audio screwed up easily. And AT Games has struggled with the problem for nearly 10 years. Between the fixed sound, a great-looking replica chassis, and the system's introduction of a rewind ability, the Sega Flashback could be a great and affordable competitor to the discontinued NES Classic or the upcoming SNES. But there's a problem. AT Games elected to go with wireless controllers. While they handle well and have the more popular 6-button Genesis layout, they've got some big problems that ruin the Flashback. The controllers require 2 AAA batteries to run, and accessing the slot for batteries requires a screwdriver. And the controllers don't work consistently. In my testing, it was always a toss-up whether pressing a button would actually result in a corresponding action on screen. Alright, so basically the Sega Genesis bad controllers and they're wireless controllers, so it's not like you could just replace them. That kind of sucks. Plus, I'm looking at this. The controllers that come with it don't really look like an original Sega controller. It probably doesn't have the right feel to it either. See, Nintendo manufacturing the classics, they're manufacturing the controllers to be as close to the original as they can.
Yeah, maybe they think that you're going to actually play it.
Now the Atari, let's see, they also provide wireless controllers for the Atari Flashback 8 Gold. The system can't play old cartridges, but it can connect to a TV with HDMI. The Atari system also has the cool ability to rewind and replay the last 6 seconds. And there are even ports if you have old Atari controllers, as well as an SD card slot in case you want to shove more Atari games on the console. So if you don't like the wireless joysticks the mini Atari comes with, you can hook up your old joysticks to have the authentic joystick feeling to it, because like I noticed on the picture, it's got the right port for it. It already has 120 games available. You probably don't actually need the SD card slot. It has all the good games like Frogger, Pitfall, Missile Command, Yar's Revenge. Notably absent is Pac-Man, presumably because Namco Bandai has no desire to license it for a $60 nostalgia bomb like the Atari Flashback 8 Gold. Well, also that and the Atari version of Pac-Man is an embarrassment and an abomination. Ms. Pac-Man was a far better game on the 2600 than Pac-Man was. So it sounds like the Mini Atari's not a bad device. Probably not as cool as the NES Classic, and plus it's got an SD card slot, so you can add more games if the 120 on there aren't enough for you. But I don't know if I feel like spending $60 for it. I like originals.
Now, can you hack in and get the images of the different games to put into your retro gaming system?
I don't think these systems do a... You see, the thing about the NES and the SNES Mini is that they're powered by a USB cable, and the USB cable is what has the ability to connect into the system. I don't see where the power cord goes on these things, but I'm guessing these devices just have a standard DC power connection on them, and it's just powered by a standard power cord and not a USB cord. Because I'm seeing just a little, kind of a circle connection on the back of the Atari. So no, there's no easy way to hack into this that I could see. I don't know what you could do with the SD card if you could somehow make it boot to something on an SD card. And to be honest, even if it was hackable, I'm not sure that the community out there is interested in hacking them. So they might not have. Let me Google that.
Why you do that? I just found an interesting tweet here. It says, you will hunt the most dangerous game in the world today. Parcheesi. I don't remember what Parcheesi was.
You don't remember Parcheesi?
No.
Parcheesi, do you remember Sorry?
Yeah.
Sorry is like the children's version of Parcheesi, in that it's basically a game where you got 4 pawns that you got to move from your home base, or you got like your own starting point that you got to roll something to get it on the board, move it around the board, and get it up into the home. How about Aggravation? Have you ever played a game Aggravation with
You're talking board games, right?
Right.
Not computer games.
Well, Parcheesi is a board game. Even if you're playing on the computer, it's still a board game.
Right.
It's one of those games where you got
the world?
It's like 4 pawns that you got to get onto the board and move around the board to get into the home.
Okay, I remember now.
Yeah.
How is that the most dangerous?
I don't know.
It's a strategy game, right?
Any game has some kind of strategy. The thing about Parcheesi...
Well, no, by definition, a strategy game, not just...
Well, it's a board game. I don't think of it as a strategy game any
No
more
way.
than any other.
No. Board game is the physical model. The strategy would be the genre. Like a first-person shooter is a...
I don't...
type of game.
I think it's probably, being that it comes down to dice roll, there's probably elements of chance and strategy in Parcheesi.
Yeah, but that would be strategy. I mean, checkers is a strategy game, right?
Yeah.
Chess is a strategy game.
Parcheesi is not as much a strategy game as chess or checkers. Because you have control over every element of the board when it comes to chess and checkers. Whereas Parcheesi,
they add a random element, right?
Right. You have the roll of the die.
Strategy, because
there's some strategy. I wouldn't.
Sometimes the random element just adds another dimension to the strategy.
I wouldn't consider it strictly a game of strategy, though.
Checkers and chess.
Checkers and chess is based on strategy. Parcheesi is based on rolling a dice and getting your pieces around the board. Now, there is some element of strategy there, because you can, if you get 2 of your pieces on the same square, that forms a blockade, and people can't move past that. And so you want to try to make a blockade and keep blockades together. And also, if your pieces are alone on the board, they could be captured. So there's little things you could do to strategize, but there's a lot. It's at least 50-50 chance and strategy.
No, now the most dangerous game in the world would be War of the Ring, based on Lord of the Rings. That was dangerous.
Well, I think Parcheesi might have actually been played with real people moving around the board in the earliest days of it, as far as history goes. And I'm wondering if maybe there was possibly any real sword fighting involved in that. Maybe that would make it a dangerous game.
You could have, that was going on in War of the Ring. People would get really upset over that game. They actually had, think of the back of the book that said, now look, we realize that, friendships can end over this game. Just a friendly roll of the dice, should cover most disputes.
All right. Well,
yeah, that game got nasty.
Parcheesi is the American adaptation of the Indian cross and circle board game Pachisi. And let's see, Cross and Circle is a board game designed to use for race games, and Pachisi is a cross and circle board game that originated in ancient India. A 6th or 7th century representation of Lord Shiva and the goddess Parvati said to be playing Chapar, a closely related game, depicts only dice and not the distinctive board. Oh, okay. So I recall seeing a picture of people standing, like real people standing on a real representation of a life-size board, but I'm not seeing that represented here in the actual history of the game in the Wikipedia article. So that might be myth and legend.
Oh yeah. As far as you go into historical games, did you know that lacrosse used to be played with hundreds of people over a field that covered square miles, and people actually got killed?
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's some goofy shit.
But
and invented by the Native Americans.
Huh. Now, another topic that we could talk about that's related to the because we kind of came this week with a lot of video game related topics. Atari, as a company, is actually planning on launching something of a new console. I understand. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I've heard bad things about it so far.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's going to be one of these, mini emulator type boxes. Apparently, they start teasing the Atari box is what it's going to be called. And I mean, the big thing about it is like, oh wow, look at us, we're making a brand new Atari product. And once again, it's one of these things where when Nintendo does that, it's the same company that's existed all these years that have been putting things out. When Atari does it, it's whoever happens to own the brand name these days. That's what it feels like to me. So it just means that someone owns the name and they're using it to try to cash in on the retro market these days. It doesn't mean that it's a bad device. But apparently they're going to release 2 versions of it. One's going to have the fake wood grain on it, and one will be black and red. But there's not been many details. Like, we still don't have a release date, game content, or full specs. But I think I saw some people talking about it on YouTube that kind of said that they've announced it's going to be like some kind of a Linux-type box, and they think that it's... I mean, what separates that from buying a Pi?
Well, it depends on what CPU it's got in it, probably.
Let's see if I can find more information about it. It will be powered by an AMD custom processor with Radeon graphics and will utilize the Linux operating system. The company will allow users to stream, run applications, scan social media, browse the web, and listen to music. It will also come preloaded with...
So it's probably x86 rather than ARM.
So it's basically...
Which is interesting, yeah.
Interesting, but it's basically a mini computer. Is a device that's a mini computer something that really cuts it as a device these days? I mean, does anyone really care about computers so much? Everyone's on their phone. I mean, the NES Mini, SNES Mini, tapped into a very specific thing that I don't think would be easy for another company to really capture. Sega could do it if they did it right. Clearly, they licensed it out to someone that did it wrong. That Genesis Mini is, kind of... It could have been cooler if it were hackable and if it had decent controllers. This box, kind of cool. Maybe you could do some cool things with it, but it's basically... It's a microcomputer that is in an Atari case that comes with some games loaded on it. It doesn't stand out to me.
Well, the thing goes for, what, $30?
No, I think that... I don't think they've announced a price, but I'd imagine... Oh, no, it's expensive. Oh, this is a big part of the problem. Somewhere around $250 to $300.
Yeah, see, why would anybody buy it?
Well, I'm guessing that this is... Being that they describe... The specs sound like this is going to be more powerful than the Pi. I mean, this is, like you said, it's x86, so this is probably going to be like a... It's running something powerful under the hood. And I guess what it does is it gives you a powerful mini device that you can hook up to your TV for old school console gaming. And I'm guessing they're trying to suggest that this will do more than just play Atari games. They're trying to take the idea of the mini retro console on your TV to the next level. It's just that, heck, you could you could buy a tablet and hook it up to your HDMI port. A Windows
Sure.
tablet.
Sure.
There are other things that do this. You know what? If something with this level of power were $50, even though I was bad mouthing it, I was thinking, gee, that said, I might end up buying one of these. And then I saw the price tag. I can't see spending $250, $300 for this thing.
Well, maybe this is for a collector market.
I don't know. I mean, once again, that would. I mean, people collect Nintendo stuff because it's the same company and they've been buying everything they put out.
Right.
Atari's not really tapped into the collector market in modern times.
And then with this, the device or the picture that I showed,
the
that's
mini
available.
device.
It's about $30.
No, that one was 50 that you showed.
Oh, 50. Okay, so $50, 30, 50. That's close.
It looks cool.
I mean, that's. Why would you get anything that's a lot more expensive? That's where I'm going.
Well, I mean, because it's
people will see the name and they'll take it anyway.
Well, I mean, but Atari's not been a very relevant name in many years. It's Atari is strictly nostalgia. There's nothing more there but nostalgia.
Exactly.
And there's plenty of old systems that still work. Speaking of which, Brian, I was curious because we've touched on in the past that you did have an Atari. Now, was that something you purchased or something your family had growing up?
No, I bought it. I bought it late.
I was thinking that by the time it was popular, you were probably an adult by then.
Yeah. No, and I bought it late in the process. So this was. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it was discontinued, but you could get a lot of games still.
Do you know
back when you had all these different, like KB toys and that kind of stuff?
So now this was you're moved out and working a job.
I was probably in Colorado at the time.
Okay, and so did the missus play any games with you?
No, she never played.
Oh, no, she played Mario Galaxy with you though.
Not that much.
Not because you could do the thing where the second person, someone holds a second player controller and kind of gets little bouncing, colorful things in Mario, and so your wife would do that with you at least once.
Not very much. Yeah, a little bit.
Really,
if you want to play a game that's fun, play Mario Kart.
You get her to play that with you?
Some. She's not a big gamer.
Now, what games did you buy on the Atari? Do you remember?
I probably had Asteroids.
Oh, that was a classic.
Oh, totally. One of the Pac-Man, might have been Mrs. Pac-Man. I can't recall.
And that's better. Well, the Miss Pac-Man did keep the part where the board could change after every few levels.
Right.
Okay.
There were some adventure games. I don't think I had Pitfall, but I had some of the adventure games that were like that. But I don't recall those anymore.
Well, another one I have that's kind of like Pitfall that I was playing with a little bit on the weekend is a cartridge called Jungle Hunt. That
I think I had that.
Yeah, and that one was that's kind of cool. Let me
bring that baby up.
Here we go.
Oh, yes, that's right. You're swinging in the wind.
And you got swimming
against alligators.
Yeah. I've been eaten by many alligators playing this game.
Are those bananas hanging down and you got to avoid the monkeys?
I guess so. I didn't get that far. But let's... we got music for this one.
Woo!
Ooh. All right, I'm jumping from vine to vine. This one, the graphics aren't bad on this one. And there we go. Hey, I'm doing all right. Oh, now I get to swim. And I'm swimming.
Swim with
crocodiles. Swim with the gators. The gators swimming with gators.
Right.
Oh, and he got a surface every now and then to get breath because he got a diving meter that gets lower as you swim. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. This is thrilling radio right here. Listen to the boop, to boop, to boop, to boops.
That's right.
Now, Venison, you had a Pong, but did you ever have an Atari?
Nope.
No.
By the time Atari came out, I had found about arcades.
I see. So you just kept pumping quarters into machines and then had nothing to show for it.
Well, yeah, because the game was a lot cooler.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you had to keep pumping quarters to play. You couldn't.
But the memories are priceless.
Right.
Well, until the drugs kick in.
No,
until you start forgetting.
Yeah. Till old age sets in.
Until the drugs wore off. You know?
All right, I beat that level. Oh, that jump sucks. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I got to jump over balls now.
Boulders.
Boulders? Is that what those are? I thought they're
I
peas.
guess.
They're green. They look like peas. I hate peas. Wow. You like peas? Who likes peas? And they bounce. They're bouncy balls. Oh, that was a big one.
I can see that one coming, man. You're a dead man.
Yeah. I'm not sure how you're supposed to handle
little
that
balls, little balls.
Little balls. Little balls. Little balls. Little balls. It's Christmas time in the jungle.
Big one.
Big balls.
And you got killed again.
Yeah. Now, do I have to start over every time? Oh, here's the King Pickle. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I don't have an option to shoot or anything.
Maybe you jump over him.
Oops,
yeah, he smashed you.
Oh, I see. When he's moving... Oh, well, that's that.
Is that your horse car on the right? 42, what is it?
4920, I guess that is.
4920.
Yeah, that's enough of that. You know, video games doesn't make for good radio.
That's right.
Duh.
Put on your best radio face.
Put on your best radio. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so once again, this was a good purchase. I'm so thrilled with this. I don't know. I might have to start twitching some or something like that.
Oh, what the hell?
Oh, you know what? I heard of a thing. I never heard of this. Apparently, the kids these days have found some real awful hobbies. And this one, yeah.
No.
Apparently, it's a thing to get a SWAT team to break down someone's door and arrest them while they're live streaming video games.
What?
Yeah, I never heard of this till today. But apparently that's a thing. That people have figured out how to spoof a phone number, call 911 in the area where someone is streaming a video game to get a SWAT team to come out there, break down the door in the middle of a live broadcast and see this, or hear and see this happen. You can find videos online of this. Let's see if I can bring up an example of this for purely educational reasons on something that needs to be solved, not as an example of what you should do.
Why would they even do that?
I don't know. Drugs? Maybe they're on drugs and they think that this is a good idea while they're on drugs.
Or are they just trolls?
No.
How do we fuck this guy up?
They're trolls.
I mean, the SWAT team. Why would they even bother?
Because...
Well, they would have to invent a dangerous situation.
Some SWAT... Yeah, I mean, they call 911 and basically, say, I've just killed my mother. I'm holding someone hostage. I'm going to burn the house down. I
have high explosives.
It was an episode of Reply All, the podcast I was talking about, that I was listening to, that they covered this. Now, some SWAT teams are starting to get wise at this because when this happens, they break down the door, they storm the place, and then they find, there's nothing going on here, and this person's playing a video game, and we're on the camera. And that's when they realize, oh, people are watching us. Yeah. And so some places are trying to get wise at this and do things about that. But really...
Smashing the cameras?
something needs to be. Well, no, because it's not the person's who's on the camera's fault. No, they know that someone else pranked them. But what really
disconnect from the internet.
Well, no, we need to do something.
That's what you do is you go into the place, you find the internet connection to the house, cut that line,
and then storm it.
Yeah.
No, you. What you need to do is we need to fix the problem of how easy it is to spoof a number to make a 911 call.
Well, yeah, of course.
That's really what needs to be done. But yeah, like I just did this. It's called swatting, and so I actually just did a search for swatting, and there's a YouTube video that comes up on the top of the search. 10 streamers get swatted live. All right, so we see a video game here that's being played by Jess.
Right now. Look at this.
Is it a kid?
Loud knock on the door. And so she's taking off her headset. Gonna go get the door. Nice thing to open up your door too, right?
Good, we got 3. Living room's clear. Hey, y'all in the back. We're opening the back door.
And now they're, securing the place, making sure everything's clear. And,
It's us. Got it.
And it's still filming.
She's playing Black Ops 2.
And that's what they noticed in a video game.
Telling Jack. It was
Yeah.
a joke.
But no, she's...
And they're watching
Did they
us.
identify themselves as being the police?
I'm sorry, what was that, Brian?
Did they identify themselves as being the police when they entered?
It was pretty loud, and they basically felt that there was enough of a threat that they needed to just scream, "Show me your hands, get down," whatever.
But they didn't identify themselves as police officers?
It's a little confusing. I didn't quite catch it. Let's listen back, because it was basically loud knock. All right, so she's going to the door. There might have been something about them being police somewhere in that screaming.
How could you understand any of that?
No, I can't. They basically want to immediately take control of the situation that, hey, we're in control here, and you're going to just show us your hands, get down, and not shoot at us.
Okay, so what was the continuation of that?
Well, the continuation of that is that they figured out what was happening, and they probably took the cuffs off of her, and I don't know how that ended, but she doesn't hold it against the police. The police don't hold it against her. They all know that someone else pranked all of them.
Now, do you think they were real police, or this was just a stage?
No, this was real police.
And how do you know that? Because you saw this on the internet? Because it's always true?
Because I heard a podcast where they interviewed her. And they've interviewed multiple, and I don't know about this case,
So
but
you think she's going to change her story from...
The podcast I listened to, they actually interviewed police that were involved on SWAT teams on things like this. There have been real police that have interviewed about
real police
this
because it said so on the internet.
because they were interviewed by a podcast that reached out to law enforcement to interview them about this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they got the 911 calls. The people that did this podcast got 911 calls and played the audio of the 911 calls that led to these things. Obviously, they had to contact real people on the inside for this story to get that kind of audio. And they interviewed police officers. This isn't some podcast like we do. These are professional podcasters. Reply All is a pretty professionally done podcast.
Your vote. Do you think this is a real story, or you think it was all made up?
I think this is real. I think this is totally real.
Your name's not Venison. Venison.
Oh.
What?
Do you think it's real, or do you think they made it all up? The podcasters.
Well, the podcasters, it could be half and half, but normally I wouldn't doubt that sort of thing now, because nowadays, the real police are doing enough really screwed up stuff where you don't need to invent anything.
Yeah, yeah. Here, you know what? Let's look at another one of the. This one I think is actually a news report that's on this YouTube clip.
Making me mad. I'm gonna shoot my mom and blow up the building.
So the dispatcher sends the SWAT team to Hinky's house near Seattle. Curtis is home simply playing the online war game Call of Duty when those real guys with real guns showed up.
And the big sheriff guy comes over and he's like, "Who's Curtis?" And like when he said that, I was just like,
They're clearing rooms. What in the world? I think we're getting swatted.
So this SWAT team didn't break down the
Think we're
door.
getting swatted? What in the
They got
world?
out there with the bullhorn and kind of started barking orders of
Put your hands up! Get on the ground!
Okay, they did break in.
Get on the ground! There's one in the corner. Put your hands behind your back.
Now notice this is enough of a thing that the guy knew what was happening before they came in the room. He's like all calmly like, "Hey, I think someone's swatting me. I think the police are going to order me on the floor in a few minutes. This is going to be something." Yeah, he's so laid back and relaxed about this.
They're clearing rooms. What in the world? I think we're getting
Did they
swatted.
figure out who dialed the 911? Because that guy could go to jail. Right?
I think the guy doing the cast, doing the stream, probably has an idea who did. Actually, this one, they covered this on the podcast. He knows the screen name of the person that did it, but he doesn't know what his name is or who he is. It's a case of what is in the 911 system and records that they could trace back to the person. It's, because it's easy to figure out who it is, but to prove it, you got to have records that
Sure.
it was.
Well, but still. So if 911 people couldn't figure it out, and this guy knew the screen name, they could figure out through the screen name and nail the guy.
Right, but then they had to prove. I mean, if he knows the screen name, it's basically like, hey, this guy has been a troll to me, so I think he did it.
So I know this person online that was trolled, and she's a former police officer, and this troll kept bothering her, and finally she got with her buddies and traced down who it is, and then in their next video she kind of go, "Oh yeah, this guy is Larry such and such," so named him out completely.
Right.
This is where he's from, pulled up the IP address and what have you, and nailed the guy against the wall.
But they had to do the research to pull that up.
They
could pull up who that guy's screen name is and publicly shame him. But can they trace his
They
computer
probably
to the
had enough
911
information
call?
that if they put together the evidence to charge him with something, they probably would have.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that are all state laws up to date with this type of thing? Because keep in mind, this guy's probably pranking 911 from another state. You got to prove it's him, and what are the current penalties and fines on that? I mean, what I don't know. And
Now,
these,
there is a possibility.
Chances
There's
are.
a possibility.
Yes.
There's a possibility that they can trace that shit back. Okay, you know that dark web browser they use. I forgot what it's called. But lately, this browser can use proxies and all like that and
Right.
everything else.
Right.
But they found a way to trace it back to the person using it. So they had to redo it.
Well,
but yeah,
it's like an
so
onion.
if they can do that, they can trace this 911 stuff.
It's like an onion. You might have to get through a bunch of layers, but you could probably trace this. But then again, it's time, resources, and
But if it's done a lot,
But-
if it's taking out SWAT teams, and to prevent the possibility of real damage being done, they would do it.
this is the thing that's happened enough times that, yes, it is getting some attention now within the law enforcement community. And I believe that some states have passed some legislation, and there's been talk of maybe putting stiffer penalties on something like this, which is the type of thing that, on the one hand, you're like, hey, nail this person to the wall for sending a SWAT team out. On the other hand, do you want to destroy someone's life over a prank when they were stupid and didn't understand just how serious what they were doing was?
Well, you start off with nailing an example
Right.
and
Well,
getting a conviction, and then you work out okay, what the penalty should be.
Well, I'm thinking the penalty should be something like
these are
community
SWAT teams.
service during the summer. You know, like you lose your summer break, and you're just going to be, picking up trash on the side of the road.
Yeah, but we're talking.
So you don't
SWAT
think they
teams
should just
here.
chop the
These
guy's
guys
balls off?
Well,
No,
that's
it could be that serious. Like I said, these are SWAT teams. They could come in, and for some reason or another, the guy who was getting pranked could end up getting shot.
I'm thinking
Absolutely.
chopping the balls off is more of a second or third offense. Because
Well, you do have two, so you could chop off one
they're
for the first offense.
Well, yeah, but what's the point? I mean, I think the real purpose of chopping off the balls is to prevent them from reproducing.
Yeah.
If you only chop off one, they can still reproduce.
Okay.
Well,
No,
but then
I'm-
again, it's just a first offense. So
I'm thinking let's be reasonable with the first offense. Let's wait for the second offense before we start, nailing them to the
dismembering
wall.
the person.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we should give someone a wake up call and be like, "Hey, look you're going to be picking up trash in the
Or
highway."
here's
instead of
here's
having
what you do. Here's what you do. Right when you finally get the guy, you send the SWAT team after him and let him know how it feels.
That's not a bad idea.
You see, that's punishment to fit the crime.
That is.
Nah, because he would get it. He would know that he was a victim of swatting, and he'd probably just be smiling to it all.
That's the other thing. He might take it as a joke, and plus, it really should be something that takes away someone's time, not just an evening. I'm thinking, if they're still in school, they're going to be spending their summers picking up trash. I'm thinking that would be a pretty send a pretty strong message.
Or just have
That's
them
an
expelled.
idea.
Expelled?
Yeah, from school.
That just
No.
takes away their education, which
And they consider that a vacation.
no, I'm. You know what? You take them out of school, they're like, great. I don't have to go to school, and I hate school. No, take away the
I'm
summer
going down the
vacation.
shore.
You want to mess with a kid that's a student? You take away the summer vacation and make them pick up trash on the side of the road.
Well,
That's the way.
remember when the high school kids trashed the Wendy's in San Lorenzo? Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Oh, this must have been before you worked for the box
Yeah,
company.
I never heard of this.
So what happened?
You-
This was getting close to graduation, and a bunch of the seniors that were going to graduate, like in the next week, went to the local Wendy's and totally trashed the place during the lunch hour.
Ugh.
And they were arrested, and then the school basically said, "Hey, sorry kids, you're not graduating."
I understand this, and I'm not gonna be sympathetic towards them, but can you do that? I mean, what does if they made
Apparently
if they
that's what the school did because they felt that their action reflected on the school.
but if they completed the courses and they made the marks, they earned a diploma.
They didn't look at it that way.
This is the type of thing that I could see parents taking the school to court to get the diploma because it's been earned. And do they have any
And the
legal
kids that were
right to
going
withhold it?
college would have this bad mark on them, and possibly the universities, even if they accepted them, said, "Oh, by the way, we changed our mind. You're out of here."
Here's the thing. I'm not trying to be sympathetic here. They should have had to have cleaned up the Wendy's. They should have had to have paid some fines. They should have been spending a summer picking up garbage on the side of the road in front of the Wendy's. But should they then be set back a year in their college education over this?
Either that or jail.
Yeah, they could spend some time in jail.
Could we possibly resolve this in a way that sticks without setting their life back a year or setting them on the path of a downward slope? Because if you take away the high school diploma, you take away their ability to go to college. You've now
trashed a pup's place. You already are on a
but you've now
downward
set them on a
spiral.
path that they can't even. You set them on a path that they're going to be working at a Wendy's because they don't have any other options. Do we want to take away their future as a productive member in society potentially?
So do you want to give them a trophy?
That's not what I said.
Yeah. But that's what you do nowadays.
I'm
we
just
hand out trophies to everybody, not just the person that won.
You're talking about a completely
You're
different
also
issue now,
saying,
Brian.
well, no, I know.
What
No,
does that have to do with this? Did I anywhere
this
in
is
there
right.
suggest that this should be applauded or rewarded, or that we should hand them a trophy?
Yeah, but the graduation certificate or diploma could be looked at as a trophy.
It has nothing to do with it.
It has absolutely everything
It's
to
a
do
piece
with
of paper that says that they met the requirements that they met.
Well, there could be something in there about what they shouldn't be doing, like trashing a Wendy's.
No, they shouldn't be doing
besides
that.
the fact that they were skipping school at the time.
There should be an appropriate penalty for their actions, and I think there's
They
a way.
committed a crime. during
Yes,
school
and they
hours.
should pay for that crime. They should be made to clean up the Wendy's.
They did
should be
pay the
made.
crime.
They should be
You don't
made
get
to
the-
pay restitution to Wendy's, and they should be made to spend their summer cleaning up trash on the side of the highway.
They did
But
pay for a crime. They got held back a year.
I hesitate to take away someone's first year of college, and take away someone's high school diploma over this.
Yeah. Well, then how do you explain, somewhat innocent people who get thrown in jail for 20 years of life for having a joint?
I'm against that too.
It happened.
Here's the thing.
Well, it's a different topic.
I think our law enforcement, judicial system in general, our penal system, could definitely do with some reform. I mean, if we're basically got a system where people go to prison and learn how to be better criminals. And is this really a system? The system is supposed to be a penalty, but it's also supposed to rehabilitate and leave people to be able to become better members of society.
So how about this? In Louisiana, and this is like a story I saw today, there's a state senator that doesn't want these 9 non-violent criminals released from prison because it's those people that wash cars, clean the dishes, run the laundry, that do all this menial labor, for the prison system and people that work in the prison system. In other words, he wanted his car washed.
Yes, and there have
That's
been
prison for profit.
There have
That's
been
a whole
cases
different
of
thing.
extreme abuse of for-profit prisons, like in Pennsylvania. There was a huge.
They didn't even this was in Louisiana, and this was probably even a state prison because this was a state official that objected to the release program.
Yeah, and this is a problem. This is a problem in our prison system. We need to do away with for-profit prisons.
Yeah, but this had nothing to do with private prisons. This was just a state guy. I'm pretty sure.
Well, we need to do away with things like that as well. We should not be.
Well, that's what they're trying to do is get rid of him. And then this guy steps in and says, "Wait a second, we need those people to do these things that nobody else will do."
That falls under cruel and unusual punishment.
That right there is a case of, did he really say that out loud? Did he really just admit that? Because that's not the point of prison. That's completely missing the point of prison. The point of prison is not to have.
But,
yeah.
But see, what he wants to do, and quite frankly, is that guy wants to incarcerate blacks indefinitely.
Yeah, and that needs to be.
Now we got racism.
That's what the issue really was.
Yeah, you know what? These nonviolent offenders that keep going away for long periods of time, I don't know. I think we could do better. I think we can come up with a better system to reform these people. It's not to mention it's expensive to imprison someone unless you exploit them for free labor. I don't know. I just think that we could be doing better. I think this country is doing awful, and I think it's going in the wrong direction. We get the wrong people.
So I was looking on Twitter. I was looking on Twitter for Louisiana, and apparently there is a oil rig that exploded.
Run by
Oh, yeah.
prisoners?
No, that's a different topic.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. But let's stay on the law thing a bit here. Just one more item, because it's something I just now saw. Something that said unfriendliness is now a crime. And they got the cop standing in front of a big board that says hostility. We do not need to prove hatred. No legal definition of hostility. But and underneath this, a dictionary definition is used and can include unfriendliness, contempt, ill will, prejudice, antagonism, malice, and a word I can't see what he's sitting in front of it.
Okay.
And and now it's unfriendliness is now a crime. No, it actually has been a crime for a long time, depending on where you are. There's this town, and in Gators you might know it. There's this town in New Jersey called Bernardsville.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, and did you know they have an ordinance in that town that says you cannot, frown in that town. You always have to have a smile, but you cannot frown, or else you can be fined.
Yeah, but is it enforceable?
Apparently.
Find me an example of someone that's been fined for that.
I can't. I don't even know what to even look up for that. And it's such a small town. Do they post their shit on Facebook? I doubt it.
Anyways, yeah, there's a lot of places that have old unenforceable rules on the book that.
So I found this asshole and retweeted to you guys.
You've retweeted an asshole to us.
Yeah.
So you're not at all like biasing us towards this retweet ahead of time before we can even read it.
Right.
Right.
And I think you'll probably agree.
Oh, yeah. No, knowing you, I think I will. Let's see. Here's the asshole. Bishop Talbert Swan. Steve Prater, sheriff of Caddo Parish in Louisiana, tells you why he wants to keep good black men in jail. Well, hey, he's referring to them as good, so that's something, right? Right.
Well, that's good in quotes.
Good in quotes. All right.
You know what they used to talk about? Good Indians would be the dead ones.
Oh.
Place out there. I don't want state prisoners. Okay, they are a necessary evil to keep the doors open. That we keep a few or keep some out there, and that's the ones that you can work. That's the ones that can pick up trash. The work release programs. But guess what? Those are the ones that they're releasing. In addition to the bad ones, and I call these bad. In addition to them, they're releasing some good ones that we use every day to wash cars, to change oil in our cars, to cook in the kitchen, to do all that where we save money. Well, they're going to let
we got buffering.
them out.
That's where it ends. Yeah.
Basically, he's bringing back slavery.
Yeah, well,
there's no well about
it. It could be paying them below minimum wage. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
because there are people that are in prison, like illegal aliens, that are in prison for many years, and they earn $1 a day. And people think that this is a good thing. No. I think the minimum wage laws should also apply to prisoners.
Well, I think our whole prison system in general needs to be
rethought. They've got prisoners, fighting the California wildfires at $2 an hour.
Yeah, no, I think you got to do at least minimum wage, and really we should be getting these people reformed and out of prison when appropriate, and especially the nonviolent, keeping good people in prison because it's good free labor, bad idea.
Right. It's such
on that lovely note, we've put another fun-filled edition of Time Out.
And you're going to leave this early? No overtime?
I don't normally do overtime.
This is called timeout, not overtime.
No, yeah. This is
Although we do have another, 3 minutes to go.
Yeah. That's why we're playing the closing theme, and we're
get ready for our closing answers, questions.
Yeah, we got to do that because we do try to be educational here on this show, and I think we've been very educational. And so let's go around the room and find out what we've learned here. Now let's start with Venison. Venison, what have you learned here?
I have learned that I really don't care for the old style, video games like Atari, NES, or whatever, because I never played them, never found them interesting. So I didn't really learn that much from them.
That's too bad.
Yeah, but didn't a lot of the classic arcade games come from, those old classic consoles?
Or no, the consoles were ports of the arcade games in many cases, but they were, lesser hardware. So
cheapened. Yeah, they were cheapened. Less graphics, and action, that sort of thing.
Well,
in the arcade, they were awesome.
Well, some of the later like the Atari 5200, has some pretty good looking graphics. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on one of those, and I think the ColecoVision could do some cool things. Not to mention the Commodore 64.
And then there's the forgotten Coleco Atom.
Oh yes,
my brother had one.
How was it?
There were some unusual properties. I think you had to have the printer plugged in for it to work.
Interesting. What have you learned here this week, Brian?
That, yes, the more money you pay for a classic game, the better it is.
Really?
Sure.
I'm not sure where I said that. I've learned this.
Oh, okay.
I think this week in general I've learned someone's messing with me in my packages. I'm not sure quite who or what their game is. But tune in next
Maybe
week.
You need to set up a video camera.
I might have to start setting up cameras. I might have to start setting up cameras around here to see what's going on around here. I'm going to start.
Or just put a sign that says, "You're on CCTV."
I have a feeling if no one's taken the I don't think it's malicious. I think someone's just not reading the label. And because the thing is that if it was malicious, they wouldn't have brought the envelope back and threw it on the steps. So I think
was it torn back so that he could see what it was?
I don't know. I don't know if it was just the adhesive wore off, or it was open a little bit in the corner, enough to make me think, did someone peek in there? But I'm not sure on that. I really can't be sure. Something's shaking. Wow, it must have been Amtrak. Anyways, but no, when someone brings it back and leaves it in the steps, that says to me that someone picked it up without reading the label. But here's the thing that gets me. This happened the second day in a row. If you accidentally picked up the wrong package in the building and then put it back, wouldn't you pay closer attention to the next thing you picked up the next day the mail comes? Wouldn't you learn from that and start paying more attention?
I'm thinking the guy went to steal it and then for some reason returned it because, no, that's not valuable enough.
Well,
but that is the second one, not realizing it's the same damn thing.
Right? If that were the case, I don't think he'd bother to bring it back. A thief generally doesn't care about that. He probably just
throw it in the trash.
Throw it in the trash. Yeah. I mean, that's you come back to the scene of the crime voluntarily. That's where you're going to start getting busted. What are you doing with this? I found it. Saw your address.
I bet you could find a sticker on Amazon that says, you're under CCTV surveillance.
I could. Or I could actually put up some... Dune, I think, once has suggested I should put up some actual cameras. And I kind of like that
Or
idea.
even fake cameras.
Well, I'd like... The thing is, if I put up real cameras, I could actually see what's happening.
Right.
And I'm really curious. Part of me is pissed off, and part of me is I really just want to know what's happening.
So study the camera placement concept.
Maybe I need to find out who's taking my package and then call the SWAT team on them. Have them knock down his or her door.
That's right.
Anyways, on that note, thank you for listening. NH3Radio.com.
And we didn't go political. How about that?
I mean, not too much. But thank you everyone for listening. NH3Radio.com. And, check out ADHD Radio tomorrow night with Video Vamp. Dune and Bob Show on Sundays. Thank you for listening. Good night.
Ooh, a Jedi Joker.